Hi, this is Free Thinking Through the Fourth Turning. My name is Sasha Stone. Trump's triumphant return to Butler, PA. Can't keep a good man down.
Let me begin this evening by expressing my gratitude to the American people for your outpouring of love and support following the assassination attempt at my rally on Saturday. As you already know, the assassin's bullet came within a quarter of an inch of taking my life. So many people have asked me, what happened? Tell us what happened, please. And therefore, I will tell you exactly what happened, and you'll never hear it from me a second time because it's actually too painful to tell. It was a warm, beautiful day in the early evening in Butler Township in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Music was loudly playing, and the campaign was doing really well. I went to the stage, and the crowd was cheering wildly. Everybody was happy. I began speaking very strongly, powerfully, and happily, because I was discussing the great job my administration did on immigration at the southern border. We were very proud of it. Behind me and to the right was a large screen that was displaying a chart of border crossings under my leadership. The numbers were absolutely amazing. In order to see the chart, I started to, like this, turn to my right and was ready to begin a little bit further turn, which I'm very lucky I didn't do, when I heard a loud whizzing sound and felt something hit me really, really hard on my right ear.
Tomorrow, on Saturday, Trump is returning to Butler, Pennsylvania. Trump and Butler seem connected in ways that make for one of the greatest stories in American history. It wasn't just the assassination attempt. Butler had come to stand for the quintessential town of the forgotten working class, who turned to Trump as their last best hope. Just before the 2020 election, Tucker Carlson gave the most insightful, eloquent monologue about Trump and his supporters I'd ever heard. It went viral because no one has said it better before or since, and a myth was born. Butler, Pennsylvania was the forgotten town that came alive when Trump decided to shine a light on it.
We're going to have the very latest news throughout the hour tonight. We want to begin a different way. We want to begin this show with a single image. Now, the image doesn't tell you who's going to win or lose tomorrow. Instead, it's a metaphor for the election itself and for the moment that we're living in and will continue to live in. The picture is from a town called Butler, Pennsylvania. It's 35 miles north of Pittsburgh. The president held a rally there over the weekend. Butler's like a lot of places you'll find in this country once you head inland from the coasts. It's a former industrial town. They made Pullman rail cars there for many years. But it's been losing population for decades. There's still a lot of nice people in Butler. For 60 grand, you can buy a decent house there. It's a place you might be happy in. But our professional class is not impressed by Butler. They don't consider Butler, Pennsylvania, or places like it, the future. To them, places like Butler are embarrassing relics of a past best forgotten. The men of Butler may have built this country, and they did, but they mean nothing to our leaders now. You can be certain of that because when large numbers of people in Butler started killing themselves with narcotics, no one in Washington or New York or Los Angeles said a word about it. And so it continued. There have now been so many opioid deaths in Butler that a few years ago residents built an overdose memorial in the middle of town. MSNBC didn't cover that. So given all of that, it was interesting how the people around Butler feel about Donald Trump. Here are the pictures of the president's rally there on Saturday night. Tens of thousands of people came. So many people that the crowd obscured the horizon. It looked like a visit from the Pope. When was the last time a political speech drew that many people? Well, the media didn't ask. Instead, they attacked the rally as a super spreader event. Trump endangers thousands in Pennsylvania. Okay, we'll leave the epidemiology to CNN. But the question still hung in the air. Why did all those people come? Why? They must have known that Donald Trump is the most evil man who's ever lived. They've heard that every day for 5 years. They know that people who support Donald Trump are also evil. They're bigots, they're morons, they're racist cult members. They know that Americans have been fired from their jobs for supporting Donald Trump. Not to mention kicked off social media, belittled by their kids' teachers, shunned by decent society. Only losers and freaks support Donald Trump. People in Butler knew all of that. But on Saturday, they went to the Donald Trump rally anyway. Why exactly did they do that? We should be pondering that question deeply as we watch tomorrow's returns and as we live through the aftermath of them. Millions of Americans sincerely love Donald Trump. They love him in spite of everything they've heard. They love him often in spite of himself. They're not deluded. They know exactly who Trump is. They love him anyway. They love Donald Trump because no one else loves them. The country they built, the country their ancestors fought for over hundreds of years, has left them to die in their unfashionable little towns, mocked and despised by the sneering half-wits with finance degrees but no actual skills who seem to run everything all of a sudden. Whatever Donald Trump's faults, he is better than the rest of the people in charge. At least he doesn't hate them for their weakness. Donald Trump, in other words, is and has always been a living indictment of the people who run this country. That was true 4 years ago when Trump came out of nowhere to win the presidency, and it's every bit as true right now. Maybe even more true than it's ever been. And it will remain true, regardless of whether Donald Trump wins re-election. Trump rose because they failed. It's as simple as that. If the people in charge had done a halfway decent job with the country they inherited, if they'd cared about anything other than themselves, even for just a moment, Donald Trump would still be hosting Celebrity Apprentice. But they didn't. Instead, they were incompetent and narcissistic and cruel and relentlessly dishonest. They wrecked what they didn't build. They lied about it. They hurt anyone who told the truth about what they were doing. That's true. We watched. America is still a great country, the best in the world, but our ruling class is disgusting. A vote for Trump is a vote against them. That's what's going on in that picture. That's what's going on in this country.
So it was already MAGA lore by the time Trump returned to Butler to campaign for his 2024 run and was very nearly assassinated. What could represent the time we're living in better than that? The Democrats will tell themselves it's just the guns, and that their gun control would have stopped this shooter from attempting to take Trump's life. Yet we know that's not the truth. It wasn't just random gun violence this shooter sought, but fame. We don't know everything there is to know about that day. The press has not exactly been drawn to this story, probably because they fear it will help Trump. So we don't know much about the shooter. As of right now, he remains a mystery, as does the strange coincidence of Trump being nearly killed in Butler, of all places. And yet another strange twist of fate, Tucker Carlson and his producer Justin Wells happened to be filming a documentary following Trump on the campaign trail. That meant a full camera crew was ready to capture every second as it unfolded. Most of the footage shown in this documentary has never been seen before, and it is extraordinary. Episodes 1 and 2 of The Art of the Surge are now playing on tuckercarlson.com. Here is a clip of the assassination attempt, combined with various videos from rallygoers.
Here's a shot of the flag that was all twisted up, because it didn't look like what it did from the front, from where I was at, because I was kind of under it. This is as they were raising the flag back up after they straightened it, and everyone was cheering. After the fact, when they showed a picture of the flag and what it looked like, it gives me chills.
This is a big crowd. This is a big, big, beautiful crowd. I wish the fake news back there would show it. I wish they'd spin their cameras and show it, because nobody Nobody would believe it. You know, the other day, Biden was saying, "Lock up the press meeting."
For whatever reason that day, I decided to walk around and get content elsewhere. So I walked over to the fence line. That's when I actually saw the commotion going on across the way.
Look, they're all pointing.
The Atlantic, maybe the Pacific.
Yeah, someone's on top of the roof. Look. There he is right there. Right there, see him? He's laying down, see him?
Yeah, he's laying down.
Thank you, Trump! Thank you, Trump!
Instead, I'm here with you fighting like hell to get
What's happening?
And to make sure we take back the White House, because if we do,
we're going to make America better than ever before. We're going to make it.
Yeah, look.
and it's
There he
not
is.
easy, because we have millions and millions
Officer.
of people in our country that shouldn't be here. Dangerous people.
On top of the roof, over there.
We have criminals, we have drug dealers, we have people that should not be here.
Right on the roof.
It's much tougher than it happens.
You went right on the roof.
And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart.
They're clearing the building right now. We've got one down on the roof.
They're moving him right now. Get in the tent.
The documentary shows us how the order of events seems anything but random. Right before Trump went to Butler, he debated Joe Biden. For the first time, the country saw how incapacitated the president was. Trump's assassination would seem, to any casual viewer, as an easy way to solve a complicated problem. But since Trump survived, desperate times called for desperate measures. Joe Biden was pushed out, and Kamala Harris was installed. I'm not saying CIA operatives knew in advance that Crooks was planning on shooting Trump or that he was groomed into doing so. I mean, the CIA never does anything like that, right? But still, the timing seems a little too convenient. And to end it in Butler might end the entire Trump movement, if that was the intention. And now, as Trump continues to make the Democrats sweat in the polls, as Kamala Harris attempts to cling to her slim lead, Trump is heading back to Butler, to the scene of both the birth of a grassroots movement that only gets bigger by the day, and the scene of the crime where a lesser man tried to end Trump's life. Elon Musk will appear with Trump at his rally in Butler. Trump's courageous act of standing up and raising his fist for the iconic photo motivated him to endorse Trump, which, among other things, has put him in the crosshairs of the authoritarian left. Podcast listeners, a tweet by Elon Musk, "I will be there to support," and a tweet by Trump, "Butler on Saturday, historic. I'm coming back to Butler." Trump's courage that day he was shot was matched only by his appearance at the RNC just days later. So many people made fun of him for going on too long without realizing he'd been shot in the head, almost killed just days earlier. There is no person alive, let alone any politician, who could have or would have done what he did. Let him talk as long as he wants. As we watch Kamala Harris snuggle up to Liz and Dick Cheney, do the bare minimum to help the victims of Hurricane Helene, and spend her time running what looks like an Oscar campaign more than a campaign to lead the people in this most desperate hour. Trump's courage to stand up to everything that's been thrown at him has not gone unnoticed. This remarkable tweet by a former Democrat was posted today by MC Armstrong, quote, "To the Democrats. This is my career suicide note, but it's also a thank you from someone who is done with careerism. I'm a lifelong member of your party, and I'm voting for Donald Trump. Why? It's not just your industrial-scale censorship, or your endless wars, or the fact that you disenfranchised millions of Kennedy voters through lawfare. If that were all I had, it would be sufficient, in terms of conscience and rage. But there's more to this story than anger. Your hatred and censorship has taught me to admire Donald Trump, and to love my fellow working-class Americans, and for that, I thank you. This vote is for all the traumatized people who have been canceled and banished just for saying no to the establishment. This vote is for the surveyor, the farmer, the HVAC man, the nurse, the hairstylist, the deadhead, the veteran, and my fellow adjunct professors who have told me their stories about being bullied by the Democrats and their friends and their family and their colleagues at work. This is for the young black woman in my class last year who, on the day of Kamala Harris's visit to campus, said, "You're going to hate me, Dr. Armstrong, but I'm not going. I'm voting for Donald Trump." Why would she think I would hate her for the way she votes? What has happened to our country? He continues, "Somehow Donald Trump has changed my mind. Where I once saw a cartoon white supremacist, warmonger, and narcissist, I now see the man who negotiated NAFTA and the only president in the 21st century not to start a new war. Where I once saw the pal of neocons, I now see a man who has awoken from his slumber and disavowed Dick Cheney, George Bush, and John Bolton, even as my own party embraces these men. Why has the greatest entrepreneur of my generation, Elon Musk, risked his career to side with Trump? Why has the most consequential grassroots environmentalist of my time, Robert Kennedy, RFK Jr., sacrificed friends, family, and reputation to side with the Orange Menace? Why has the most courageous peace activist of the 21st century, Tulsi Gabbard, left our party? Because Tulsi, Bobby, and Elon see what I see. Donald Trump is resilient, and he's risking his life to change the fate of our nation. Trump is transforming the Republican Party into the party of peace, free speech, and the working class. He has converted George Bush's billionaire boys club of big war, big ag, and big pharma into a party that cares about public health and embraces regenerative agriculture. Now, I don't think the GOP is all the way there yet, but they're clearly the party that embraces dissent, and dissent, brave speech, is the fuel for evolution. So for the first time in my life, I'm voting Republican. In the name of peace in Ukraine and free speech here at home, I'm casting my vote as a Kennedy Democrat for Donald Trump. Hashtag Trump Vance 2024, hashtag MAGA, hashtag MAHA, hashtag Team Unity, hashtag Heal the Divide, hashtag Peace, hashtag Iraq, hashtag Ukraine. And then there is the famous photo of Trump raising his fist. I couldn't have said it better myself. One of the things Trump said during his speech was how moved he was by his supporters' decision not to run when they heard gunfire. He told them how much that meant to him when he spoke at the RNC.
If I had not moved my head at that very last instant, the assassin's bullet would have perfectly hit its mark, and I would not be here tonight. We would not be together. The most incredible aspect of what took place on that terrible evening in the fading sun was actually seen later. In almost all cases, as you probably know, and when even a single bullet is fired, just a single bullet, and we had many bullets that were being fired, crowds run for the exits or stampede, but not in this case. It's very unusual. This massive crowd of tens of thousands of people stood by and didn't move an inch. In fact, many of them bravely but automatically stood up looking for where the sniper would be. They knew immediately it was a sniper. And then began pointing at him. You can see that if you look at the group behind me. That was just a small group compared to what was in front. Nobody ran, and by not stampeding, many lives were saved. But that isn't the reason that they didn't move. The reason is that they knew I was in very serious trouble. They saw it. They saw me go down. They saw the blood and thought, actually most did, that I was dead. They knew it was a shot to the head. They saw the blood. And there's an interesting statistic. The ears are the bloodiest part. If something happens with the ears, they bleed more than any other part of the body. For whatever reason, the doctors told me that. I said, why is there so much blood? He said, it's the ears. They bleed more. So we learned something, but they just, this beautiful crowd, they didn't want to leave me. They knew I was in trouble. They didn't want to leave me. And you can see that love written all over their faces. Incredible people. They're incredible people. Bullets were flying over us, yet I felt serene. But now the Secret Service agents were putting themselves in peril. They were in very dangerous territory. Bullets were flying right over them, missing them by a very small amount of inches. And then it all stopped. Our Secret Service sniper, from a much greater distance and with only one bullet used, took the assassin's life, took him out. I'm not supposed to be here tonight. Not supposed to be here.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Yeah. Thank you. But I'm not.
And that right there is the story of the unstoppable force that is MAGA. It was never rooted in hate. It was always rooted in love. They had Trump's back because he always had theirs. And no politician in my lifetime has ever been so effective at reaching the unreachable, the forgotten, the invisible Americans like Trump has. He also said that the brush with death had brought him closer to God. And when I think about all of the people at that rally, and I think about Tucker Carlson and Trump, it's impossible not to see how faith ties them together, even if it's been demonized as Christian nationalism by the left. It reminded me of the poet Joseph Massey, who writes over at Dispatches from the Basement. His poems offer a moment of pause from the daily churn, from the stress and anxiety of our uncertain country and world. Massey writes as a man of faith along with the fundamentals of human existence. I don't write this as a person of faith myself. Maybe I'll get there someday. But I do notice that when I stop to read Massey's poetry, I feel a sense of calm, a way to quiet the world and sit with a thought. This poem reminded me of Trump's return to Butler and what it will mean to the people there. The refrain. Beneath morning's gray, lopsided ceiling, I grip the air for balance. Air like glass in fragments, the frigid drizzle, walking. I hold a prayer in mind, not repeating, but breathing, each word anew. I pass the lawn with dead sunflowers, their black caved-in faces, and tomatoes heavy with rot, vines sagging toward the sidewalk, chalk drawings faded by rain, mangled stick men, and slogans smeared illegible. Like the mind without prayer, like the mind without prayer, to resolve the shattered sound of the animal I am. Trump's rally will be aired live on Ride Side Broadcasting on YouTube tomorrow. Here is a link to the video live stream, and on Rumble, click here. Meanwhile, someone has put the first 2 episodes of The Art of the Surge on YouTube, but I imagine they'll be taken down soon to copyright protection, so watch them while you can. They're remarkable. Every day I wake up and I think, what won't they do to stop Trump heading into November? Nothing would surprise me by now. All I can do is hope that the Secret Service is doing its job, and that Trump's good luck streak carries him all the way across the finish line. Godspeed.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella sure that I don't become you. I have no regrets, yeah, I'll tie up my chest. I'll never forget what it's like to be in debt. Been stabbed in the back bed, I'll show you what happens. Pass me the mic and I'll show you with action. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you could never own. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you could never own. So fight and die for the things you know you love. Do what you think is right, and see life do what you want. So fight and die for the things you know you love. Do what you think is right, and see life do what you want. So give me all the scars, I'm a human being. Cover them with tattoos so you can't see. Knew it from the start, you had problems with me and the things I could be, I just wish I had seen. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you can never own. I feel this